Welcome back to another weekly Forex forecast, traders. We will start with the DXY, the US dollar. So over on the 1 hour chart, we usually do a top-down approach. Today we'll be doing a bottom-up approach. So on the 1 hour chart here, we had a very significant 1 hour downward trend. It was looking really weak, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people might be thinking the dollar is so bound to go down. This is just a fake out. And I mean, it could be right. We did fail to remove this low, which would have continued this downward trend. So that the fact that we did not remove this low, it doesn't mean it's not going to be removed this upcoming week. It just means that, we didn't remove it. So it's kind of a bullish sign. And the next thing we will be looking for really is just a break out of this high on the 1 hour chart. That is going to be our bullish sign, and that's what I am personally looking for. And the reason why is because if we go to a weekly time frame, we have that weekly demand in control. I've pointed out this weekly demand many months ago, and this weekly demand many months ago, and we are overall in a overall monthly demand as well. So we are actually expecting the dollar to continue to rise. I will definitely admit that price has definitely hesitated here with that massive wick last Friday, and I still expect us to potentially go all the way up to that weekly supply. I call me crazy, that's fine. That is my prediction. And another reason why I think we will be most likely breaking the 1 hour high to the upside rather than the low is this. Again, the higher time frame weekly demand is in control, but also we have a very nice daily upward trend that's in control. So everybody gets distracted by this move here, and I totally agree. That's a very bearish sign. However, look at the overall bigger picture, right? Not only this daily trend, but the fact that we have a weekly and monthly demand in control. In my opinion, we have to go with longs. That's just my 6 years of trading experience. That's my opinion. We have to go in long. And look, if this daily trend breaks, then I'm actually expecting to see that weekly demand removed and potentially the overall monthly demand removed as well. So for now, this week, we will be watching this trend line, especially since we are getting kind of close to it now. I am expecting it to hold based on the fact, like I said, that weekly demand is in control. And for now, we will be watching that 1 hour chart to see the high and low there, to see what can be removed. And even if we do start to push up, we have a clear target up at 99 and 91 at that 4 hour supply. And I think we will probably see at least a small move off that supply before we end up breaking it. And that's if we do push up. So for next week, we will be definitely monitoring that 1 hour chart to see where we break out of that range and the daily trend to the upside on the US dollar. All right, on to the forecast for the Euro US dollar on the weekly time frame here. We still have a weekly trend to the upside. Unlike the dollar, we don't have a opposing weekly supply and control. So it is a little bit of a tricky situation. But however, on the daily time frame, we have a very clear picture taking place here. So on the daily chart, we did remove a daily area of supply. It wasn't a great supply. I was telling members we probably could see maybe a small move off the supply, and we kind of did, just barely. I thought we would actually continue to break up to push up to this supply, and I think that's the higher odds zone where we could see that big move to the downside, especially down to that daily area of demand. So I still think we actually could see a little bit more bullish price action in the euro to push up to that daily supply before we continue to push down off that daily supply. Now, that's why I was pointing out to some of the members in the daily market breakdown video, this 1 hour demand zone. We caught that beautiful picture perfect trading setup off that 1 hour demand zone. And even some of the members caught a trade off those zones from the daily market breakdown videos as well. If you want to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership for exclusive access to our daily market breakdown videos and catch trades like these. Plus, dive deep with our full-length forecast covering 26 plus markets, our interactive Sunday Zoom sessions, and personal homework to sharpen your strategy. And you'll also join our private Discord group for direct access to me and unlock a complete library of A to Z video lessons to master supply and demand trading. Don't miss out. Let's level up your trading. Links in the description down below. So we already caught this trade, and with that trade, we created another zone that removed this supply up here. It's not my favorite zone ever. I don't love when a zone is created off of another zone. It's definitely not my favorite situation. And right now, we are clearly going sideways. I think if we do push down this 1 hour demand, I think we could maybe see a small move off the zone before we end up breaking it. That is just kind of my gut feeling off of that zone. It's just really not great. And then, like I said, going back to the daily chart here, I was telling members that 1 hour zone is great. You could actually be holding your take profit to this daily supply. I would definitely be looking to take profit now for sure, after getting such a big move off that 1 hour zone. And then at this point, I would just be waiting for these zones to be hit and then to look for trades off of those zones, because for now I'm just really not seeing a whole lot of potential trading decisions to be made here on the euro until we can get to those daily zones. And that's why I do the daily market breakdown videos throughout the week, because sometimes these trades they get the setups throughout the week, and it's not for the daily market, it's not for the weekly forex forecast. That's why I do the daily breakdown videos. Alrighty, on to the forecast for gold. Beautiful trend to the upside. We are definitely kind of hesitating here to really get to that next level here on gold. I think we could really shoot off. The big question is now, are we going to pull back down to this weekly demand first? That is my opinion. I think we're going up on gold. The big question again is, are we just going to break the high, or are we going to push down to weekly demand first and then break the high? That's kind of the big question right now, and there's not a lot of information on the daily chart here because we are clearly just going sideways. Look at this sideways price action. It's really not the time to be trading gold, in my opinion. It's been very, very difficult. I definitely won't lie to you guys. As far as trading it goes now, again, we prefer longs based off of that weekly trend to the upside. We have a pretty nice 1 hour trend to the upside right now. I would definitely say it's a nice 1 hour trend. You can see it was respected here as we pushed off of the trend line. So as long as this trend line's holding, I think 5-minute time frame longs are good. We are pulling into this very old 1 hour supply. This supply zone was created July 23rd, so it's really an old supply zone. I think we could maybe see a small move off of it, maybe back to the trend line, and then we will end up breaking it, in my opinion. That's what I think is going to take place. So if you want, yeah, okay, there is money to be made on a short trade here. It's just a little risky based on the fact that it's counter trend and on the fact that it's an old zone. You guys know from last week, we caught these 2 1 hour supply zone trades from last week's daily market breakdown videos, but price was a little bit different. Things were a little bit different. These were very quick pullbacks, right? Where this supply zone over here is definitely, you know, it was a very old zone. So at this point, I want to see that removed, right? And then any demand zone that removes it is going to be a good buying opportunity. So that's what I'd be waiting for here on the 1 hour chart, as well as day trading longs. If you are bearish, the best supply zone for shorts is this one above. And at 34.19, I think it's a decent zone. I think, again, we want to be aggressive with trade management off a zone like that because it's counter trend. So again, if you short this zone, I would be moving your stop loss to break even pretty much as soon as you can and be looking to take profit as soon as you can, or moving your stop loss into profit as soon as you can, because it is a counter trend setup. For longs on this time frame, we either need to wait for a pullback down to this demand zone at 33.01, or we need to wait for this supply zone to be removed, and any demand zone there is going to represent a good buying opportunity to potentially get in long before we push up and break the all-time highs again on gold. And going back to the daily chart here, it's a very liquidity trap situation here, in my opinion. If you look here, just a very, very clear area of resistance. So I think we are easily going to be targeting this, something like that. There'll probably be a lot of manipulation up here. That's the move I think we will see on gold, maybe towards the end of the year. We'll have to see what takes place. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the USDJPY on the weekly time frame here. Full top-down approach. There's really not a lot to go off of here. It's very difficult to predict what price is going to do based off of this time frame here. We are coming off the low, so I guess based off of that, we could expect price to go up. Other than that, as far as supply and demand goes, there's really not a whole lot to go off of that weekly time frame. And if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I do these forecasts for free every single Saturday, so I always appreciate a like and subscribe. On the daily time frame here, we had let me walk you through all this price action. So we had a very good supply zone up here. That supply zone, we got a reaction off of it, ended up breaking it to the upside. It's clearly some sort of manipulation, and now I think we are seeing some manipulation here. There is some merit to the idea that we could be pushing down to this daily demand to target all this liquidity down here and then push up. It's kind of tricky to tell what's going to take place right now. It's going to obviously revolve around the dollar and the euro as well. And right now, this trend line, technically based off of how I look at it, it is still holding. It is definitely not the best hold I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like saying, wow, this trend line's doing great. It's hanging by a thread here, in my opinion. So it is still bullish, and why I think this could just be a potential liquidity trap below the trend line and we might just shoot off next week is, again, because of the daily trend of the upside on the DXY and my bullishness on the DXY. But not only that, we have a couple 1 hour zones here. I do prefer the one at the bottom here. I think it's a better one at 146.95, but we do have one as well at 147.32. And a lot of people ask me, Kevin, what zones do I take? Do I take the bottom one, just the top one? What do I do? it's really all up to you. You're going to have to back test that yourself. In these situations, if one is clearly better than the other than this one, I usually would just take that one, or I would risk 0.5% on this one and then the full 1% on this one. Or really, you could just take both, and maybe this one's a loser and this one's a winner, 3-1, and you're up 2%, right? It's all about risk to reward in the long run. So sometimes it's better to just take all the zones. Maybe if there's 100 zones, don't take all 100, right? But you know what I'm saying? Anyways, these demand zones were formed as we push below that, below that daily trend line, right? Like we were just talking about, we're pushing below. So this could represent big institutions buying here. So if you are bullish, these are going to be our demand zone pullbacks to the long side. And another option as well for trading these zones, if you don't know which one to take, if you're a day trader, I'm personally not, so I am not trading on a 5-minute chart. But if you are, when price hits these zones, you could look for confirmation longs on a 5-minute time frame to confirm your entry, guys, before you get in long. So that is definitely a possibility here on the yen. And then on the 4-hour chart here, we have a little 4-hour supply zone here. Not my favorite zone, trust me, guys. I think we will break this zone, and if we do, we might have a demand zone down below here, and then that will represent a potential dip buying opportunity here as well on the USDJPY. But for right now, it is looking still pretty bullish in my opinion, with the daily trend line still holding on by a thread. To me, it just looks like some sort of fake out with a couple demand zones sitting down below for potential long trades on the USDJPY. All right, onto the forecast for the GBPUSD. This is a very, very tricky chart to read, and let me explain why. This chart right here explains why trading can be so difficult. So with a top-down approach here, we have a weekly demand in control, and in my opinion, that is why we have seen the pound start to really rally. Now, what contradicts that is the fact that we have a DXY monthly demand in control, so we're expecting the dollar to rally, which means we would expect the pound to fall in the pound US dollar here. So that is what's tricky about that. Not only that, so we have a weekly trend to the upside and a weekly demand in control. However, we have a daily downward trend line and a downward trend that's clearly being respected, right? We called out this daily supply from back in July, so make sure you go back and check the previous forecast for that beautiful trade off that zone. And now we are testing this trend line that was created off of a move off of that zone. So it is very tricky, right? Okay, so we have a weekly demand in control, right? We are expecting price to go up, but a nice daily trend on the downside that correlates with the fact that the DXY, right, is in monthly demand. So it's very, very tricky right now to be trading the pound. So that's why I think if you are going to be trading the pound, you got to be aggressive with your profit taking based on the fact that we really don't know what is taking place. And to lead to even more confusion, on the 4-hour chart, we have a 4-hour downward trend line being respected currently. So as long as this downward trend line is holding, I personally think looking for 15-minute time frame shorts is going to be good. If you are bullish, we do have a demand zone down below that I think we could look for longs off of. Now, save the comments in the chat. Oh, he's just saying go in long and go in short. No, well, I mean, yeah, in theory, like I could think the pound's going to go down long term, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to point out the zone for a quick 1-to-1, 2-to-1 trade, right? It still means I was right. It just means that we could get a quick long trade off that zone as well. So again, since it's very confusing right now on the pound, any trade we take, guys, we want to be aggressive with profit taking. So this demand zone down below, you want to be aggressive with your profit taking, in my opinion, based off of that. Now, on the 1-hour chart, we have a very nice 1-hour trend to the upside. So you can see how it's confusing, right? Okay, we have a 4-hour downward trend, so we should be shorting, but we have a 1-hour trend, so we actually could be getting in long, but we actually have a daily downward trend, so maybe we should be getting in short. But we have a weekly uptrend, and we have a weekly demand in control, but we have the DXY and a monthly demand. You see what I'm saying? It can make you go crazy. So in these situations, all you want to do is find your setups, find your zones, and you can trade them, right, accordingly. Just, you know, if we get a little move out of it, move your stop to break even at minimum and take some profit off. That's what I would do. So that's what I would advise doing here in my opinion. Nice trend to the upside. You could be looking for longs on a 5-minute time frame as long as this trend line's holding. And I don't mind a pullback down to that zone. I think it's actually a pretty good zone at 133. A nice rally-based rally here that removed 2 opposing zones. I like it. It could represent a good dip buying opportunity. So again, moral of the story, guys, be aggressive with trade management when you don't know. And in this situation, my God, we have so many things contradicting itself. It's absolutely crazy. Very, very tricky to tell. I personally love these trends, but I want them to correlate with each other, right? I don't mind if we had a weekly trend to the upside, but a daily downward trend, because that's how we get a pullback into a weekly zone. But the fact that the DXY is in a monthly demand makes everything all kind of tricky. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the USDCAD. This is where I am from and where I'm currently living. Let me know where you guys are from in the comments down below. So on the weekly time frame, weekly trend to the upside. However, like the overall trend is up. It's clearly momentum is down. However, we just came in contact with a weekly demand zone and we are clearly reacting off of that zone. So our bias is certainly bullish here, especially since we have a very nice trend to the upside on the daily time frame. We did create liquidity here, so I think it's even possible we do pull back all the way down to that daily demand before rallying out. I'm not saying that's going to happen at all right now. I'm saying that is a possibility, and one clue that could be taking place is if we break this low. So right now, that is what we will be watching for, just like one of the on the 1 hour chart on the DXY. We are clearly ranging here on the 1 hour chart, and if you're a day trader, it's very, very simple. If we break this high, we will have a trend to the upside, and that means we could be looking for longs on a 5-minute time frame. If we break this low, then we could be looking for shorts on a 5-minute time frame because we will have that 1 hour downward trend line. None of these zones are really that great. I mean, this one's pretty good. It's just kind of an old zone, so not really going to point it out. And then again, if we break out to the upside, we will have a 1 hour trend to the upside, which means again 5-minute time frame longs are good, but you could actually be looking for a greater risk reward with the longs rather than if you're going to get in short, you can look for a greater risk reward, but you got to be more aggressive with profit taking due to the fact that we have that weekly demand and control. So that's what I'd be waiting for right now on the USDCAD, pretty much just waiting to see what trend we can form on the 1 hour chart, because for right now, I really see absolutely no trading setups, absolutely nothing I'd feel comfortable pointing out to anybody. On to the forecast for the AUDUSD on the weekly time frame. We have absolutely nothing to go off of. If this was my entry time frame, I'd be like, yuck, I am not trading this pair until we can break out of this supply or create something new. So there's not going to be anything on the weekly chart for a while. However, on the daily time frame, we do have a daily supply above, looking very similar to like the pound and the euro here, with a better supply is above. So I think it's an area we could see, you know, a potential move off of to the downside. I know a lot of you people aren't really looking at the daily time frame, and that is completely okay. We actually have a couple of trading options here on the 1 hour time frame. We have a very nice 1 hour trend to the upside, clearly being respected here. The two touch points are here and here. This just represents it being respected. So all signs are really pointing to the upside to push up to that supply zone. Now you're going to notice down here we have a clear area of liquidity. This is my purple boxes. So if we do get a pullback down to the zone, I would like to see another reaction off this support liquidity to pull back to demand. Yes, supply and demand and support and resistance are not the same. I don't care what anybody says. They are absolutely not. I want to see another move off the support area, and then that would be a pullback entry to our 1 hour demand zone. That's the nearest 1 hour zone that I'm seeing as far as my chain analysis goes. Now, this liquidity trap is something we talk about in the membership and also in the PDF. As you can see on the screen, this is from the PDF, one of the slides in the PDF talking about liquidity. It's a 38-page PDF, tons of information in it. It can kind of be like your guidebook when you trade every day. So it's something to study. It comes with the membership. Make sure to check it out. So right now we're watching the 1 hour trend, day trading along with that 1 hour trend. Pull back down to that 1 hour demand could also be good for sure. And on the 4 hour chart, we have that 4 hour supply sitting right above. This 4 hour supply is kind of just inside of the daily supply. It's right at the start, so you might want a wider stop with this one. I think it's just best. I think we could see a move off that supply zone. And we have another 4 hour liquidity trap down here. Hopefully get a reaction off of it, maybe see a small move off the demand zone down there. And I will say, for any of these demand zones, this 4 hour demand zone and then that 1 hour demand zone I was talking about, these zones are pretty good right now. The difference will be if we push up to this daily supply zone first and then we pull back down to those zones, at that point those trades become way lower odds, and then you need to be more aggressive with your trade management if you do get involved in those zones. All right, on to the forecast for the USDCHF. We have that weekly demand and control looking very, very similar to the DXY, where we have the we targeted liquidity, weekly demand and control. I think we might see a push to the upside. So our bias certainly is to the upside. There's really not a lot going on in this chart right now. As you can see on the 1 hour chart, clearly just ranging here. Very, very difficult to be trading, you know, in a range like this. I absolutely hate it. We want to be trading in a trend. it's just higher odds. And that's based off of my 6 years of trading experience. And if you guys have any questions at all, do not hesitate to leave a comment down below. I respond to every single comment. You can go and see all my videos. I respond literally to every single comment. If I haven't, it's because it didn't show up in my feed or something. So as far as the 4-hour chart goes here, it's pretty clear what's taking place. We are sitting, basically we have supply and demand, and we are sitting in the middle. And there's no trend on the 1-hour chart, which means we have to sit on our toes. So if you are bearish, this is our supply zone short. And again, we are more bullish bias. So a short trade up here, you want to be aggressive with profit taking and trade management. If we get a pullback down to this demand zone and you get in long and the trade starts to work in your favor, I think it's a good zone. And I think it's one of those times where you could actually be less aggressive in trade management due to the fact that we have a higher time frame demand in control. So we are expecting price to really rally out of that zone. We could also be waiting for this supply to be removed, and any demand zone that removes that is going to represent a good buying opportunity as well. And that is as we come off of this weekly area of demand on the USDCHF. All right, on to the forecast for crude oil. As you can see on this daily chart here, it took so long to break this demand zone. I don't know if anybody got in long off this zone, but a lot of patience was required there to finally hit like a 3-to-1 take profit if you were long off that zone. And patience is definitely something that's required in trading, and that is why I started to do my Stoic Trading Psychology podcast. We have many episodes. Check out the podcast. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever it's called, and anywhere you get your podcast. So make sure you guys check it out. So on the daily chart here, we broke this downward trend line. Everybody might be saying, wow, oil is done. Wow, we're screwed. Not really. And here's why. We have a weekly demand in control right now, and we are actually already seeing a positive move off the zone. Nothing crazy. I'm not saying, wow, the zone's holding, but I'm saying we are clearly reacting off of it right now. And actually, I'm not saying we're going to get a move all the way up here and break the trend line. If we are, I mean, this could be the zone that's going to do it, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think we will at least, at minimum, see a move up to $66, $67 a barrel again. Maybe even test the trend line again. Who knows? So just because that daily low is broken and we have a daily downward trend line, it seems to me like it's a trap because we are breaking out into a weekly area of demand, guys. So we got to be very, very cautious of that. And as far as trading it goes, it is going to be difficult. Usually when we are trading at a weekly demand, we want to look for 4-hour confirmation. But on the 4-hour chart, the confirmation, we need to see supply zones removed. I personally just don't have, any supply up here as far as my chain analysis goes. I will draw this zone, and I won't draw it as my typical chain analysis goes, but this is what we want to see removed on the 4-hour chart. If we can get that removed, that would represent our 4-hour confirmation. I would prefer to see this removed. The issue is it's just so far out of the equation with the weekly demand sitting below. So what you can do, and this is just more aggressive, it's not really wrong, it's just more aggressive. What you can do is be on this 1-hour chart. Basically, if this 1-hour downward trend line gets removed, any 1-hour demand zone there is going to represent a confirmation trade. So again, it's not just that we're trading a trend line break, it's that we're trading a trend line break in the context of a higher time frame weekly demand that's in control. That's a high probability area. Now, it looks like we might want to remove this demand zone. So it might work out for us where if we remove this demand and then we have a 1-hour supply there, the removal of that supply is also going to represent a confirmation trade. And then maybe we remove the trend line and there's new demand and then we get involved in that long as well. There could be plenty. We could definitely be building a position here as we contact that weekly demand, but we're not just going to place a buy entry, right? We have to wait for confirmation. So it could be that this zone fails and we don't even get a trade, right? So if the zone fails, don't yell at me. We didn't even get a setup because we didn't get any confirmation. So for now, we'll be watching the confirmation on the 4-hour chart and the 1-hour chart, preferably the 1-hour chart because that 4-hour supply is very, very questionable. If you want access to the full Forex forecast, make sure you subscribe to the Diamond membership where you get access not only to my daily chart analysis, but also my daily forecast where I forecast basically like this forecast, but every single day for the members. It also comes with the 38-page PDF, which is your guide for trading as well. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next video.